Greetings, Fight Disciples. This is the Fight Temple. I'm Robert Zoatman. He's Chow Boa. And we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts, and that's development of the sport. And Chow Boa has experience in organizing amateur MMA. So why don't you tell us about that, Joe?
So for amateur MMA, I think one of the beauty is we see the fighters got to represent what they represent, right? There could be a region, could be a country, right? So that's the beauty of it, and make it as a teamwork. You see different weight classes, and that's a teamwork, and they're pushing it towards the Olympics. That's one thing. And second is fighters with shin guards, but it's really soft shin guards. It's like a sock you put on, and wearing rash guard, but it's short sleeve. The thing is, the unity of the like uniform like presentation, it doesn't really make people think they're gears. People we actually like they're like a soft armors from the Asian gladiator times, and also they make a twist of the colors of the uniform. It's like last
Okay.
year we had the World Championships. We got some champions from just fought in the Asian Championships or European Championships. Those champions from the Continental Championships, they actually, you know what they wear. The promotion gives them a golden armor outfits. So it's you
Okay.
can tell the difference from white and blue. So which means it's uh, one is the presentation, and also the game itself. There's no emotion. I see. There's some fights give me a very very deep impression. Was two fighters. They just trading techniques back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like a ping pong game.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was beautiful. That's
So
the young
it's less
generation.
fighting and more of a sport, less fight.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the world championship lasted a week. So which means a fighter needs to fight like maybe four times or five times to get a title. So the
Hmm.
gears comes in. Of course, there's no elbows to head, but other
Sure.
thing else, there's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Again, MMA, you don't actually promote MMA as a rules. You don't need to focus too much on the rules. It's fighting, it's bare hand fighting. So the safety, that's another thing. Give me a very very big inspiration of what the topic we just talked about in last episode, the safety and how often athletes can compete. Can we maximize the times the fighter could compete each year, right? That's that. But this episode we want to talk about just the uniforms and the regulation. We're promoting them to teenagers and also even even like kids even under 10 years old, and they love it, and they say, oh, maybe in the beginning, because Rob, I remember you mentioned about, maybe we don't open the rules too much in the beginning. uh, so for kids does MMA, also you have your opinion on kids pancration, and some regions they did like no gear, like professional rules, those type of matches. So what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
It, I've never seen the kids matches with punches to the face or with elbows to the head or anything like that. There was no elbows at all, actually. I saw a bunch of kids matches that were uh, girls and boys fought together. Like if you were under the age of, I believe, 12 or 10, something like that, and it was mostly grappling based. There was punches to the body, and there were low kicks and stuff like that, and they kept their hands, a little bit lower naturally because they weren't going to get punched in the face. And it was that lent it to be a bit of a wrestling match and jujitsu match and stuff. But when they're on the ground, in full mount, they punched him in the chest until the other kid gave up, or couldn't get out. Um, Usually it ended in a sub, though. Uh, I would say that having a way to get parents to believe that it's not barbaric is the key. I think that right now, everywhere in the world that I've seen anyway, people are deathly afraid of their children getting hurt, and the
Right.
schools and clubs are deathly afraid of parents. They're not afraid of the injury of the kid. The kid, you can manage the injury. They're going to heal quick. We're not talking big broken bones and stuff. We're talking abrasions and bruises. And you teach them a lot of character. As an adult, I learned another level of character from entering an enclosure with another man who had all the opportunity, is totally sober. You know what I mean? And you have to, just to even train on a daily basis, you have to leave ego. You can't keep your ego and think you're going to grow as a fighter. And in the
Right.
beginning, everybody has ego, and there's guys that are like, "No, I'm a kickboxer." I had friends like that. I'm a kickboxer. I'm not going to roll around on the ground with you. I was like, okay, well, I got fewer people to roll with now. No, I'm not going to learn jujitsu. But guess what? They're all jujitsu fans now, and the jujitsu guys, they're like, no, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to, get punched, et cetera, et cetera. They somehow think that they'll still win against the kickboxer. And I'm like, listen, try a little bit. And guess what? As soon as they try, they want to come back, because when you realize how much you don't know, then you want to do it more.
Right.
And if you were actually a student of sports, or a student of whatever, you think you know what it is. You have the basics down. But when you meet somebody who has mastered a different level, then you're like, wait a second. He's not just bigger or stronger. He's just outthinking me. He has techniques I don't have. There's things to consider. And then, depending on whether you're a guy that just, when you're young, you want to just go harder and faster and everything. But as you get older, and if you're analytical at all, you start looking at it, how you can change, how you can bridge the gap to somebody who has started earlier than you. So, I mean, if we can get kids thinking earlier, and to be honest, from what I've seen and from what I've experienced coaching people, it's women and girls that will develop first in the technique aspect.
Right.
Because because do you know what? When you give them when you coach, usually when you coach women to do something, you can make subtle adjustments, and they don't ever think that you don't know what you're talking about. They'll assume that they're doing it wrong, and you'll be like, calm down, don't have to hit so hard, just hit perfectly. Or here, it's important to hold here with these fingers, like above, not beneath, or beneath, not above, or you're inside the collar, not outside the collar, whatever sport, whatever move. And they'll put in work on the minutia and the details, whereas guys are like, I managed to throw Rob there. That's good enough. And I'm like, you didn't do it correctly. Like, just because you're strong enough or fast enough or have good enough balance, what happens when you run into a guy that's just like you?
Yeah.
You have to have better technique. And girls understand this from the very beginning, because usually they're training with guys or training with somebody that's bigger. And it's important to have good technique to make the technique stick.
Right. Well, and also another topic where people talk a lot of times. So MMA is not a style. MMA is a rules platform, and the way we put MMA, we're not trying to steal. How to say? We're not trying to steal the thunder of all other styles, because I think styles represents region, represents country. So MMA, it's a mutual platform. We welcome all styles to come in, and then we need to. Rob just mentioned something really accurate. It's like a mirror to reflect your style, to make
Yeah.
friends in MMA, and also to test the effectiveness of the techniques from your style, which will reflect and help the original style, because all styles from all regions all formed in the beginning are for well-rounded competitions were on the battlefield, but bare hand fighting, there was created the same, and we need to trace back. That's the mirror. So it's like what Bruce Lee said, it's like a finger to the moon, but why concentrate on the finger too much?
Right.
You lose all the heavenly glory. What is the heavenly glory? The truth of martial arts. And I would say the technical truth, and also more society truth, which is you make friends through martial arts, not to make enemies.
Spiritual truth.
Spiritual truth. And also there's philosophies. And also we just talk about, okay, we can talk forever on just little tiny topic, like little, I mean, not saying tiny topic, we're just saying tiny points. What is qi, right? Stuff like that. We can talk forever. Qi is energy. What is energy? How energy moves? The spiral shape. That's a universal, the energy flow. We can talk about that forever, which is going to link to the philosophy, which is going to link to other stuff, right? That's why we have this universal platform.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah,
all these things, if we can use pieces from each art, and then you become complete. But when you turn around, so like if I'm facing up the hill to go to MMA, let's say, and I'm starting from the judo side of the mountain as opposed to the Muay Thai side of the mountain, or the boxing or wrestling side of the mountain, right? So everybody's got their angle of attack to go up the mountain. But at one point or another, you're all going to have to start climbing. You're going to have to use your hands because it's getting steeper. You know what I mean? And you're all going to have to use your feet because it's getting, so in the beginning, yeah, everybody just walking, and you walk in whatever shoes you want. But eventually the truth is you're going to have to put on the spikes. You know what I mean? And you're going to have to get the climbing axe and the ropes, and it gets steeper, it gets harder. And at the end, to get to the top, everybody has the same equipment. You have to. And when you turn around and go back down, you can see the path that you took. And I mean, those of us who started grappling as opposed to those who started striking, our attitude towards the sport is a little bit different. But at the end, the guys who were striking, if they continued to learn, they ended up being decent grapplers anyway.
Right.
So the wrestlers became good boxers. You can see it all the time, right?
Yeah, because like you mentioned judo. I mean, come on, like the judo, what's before judo? It's Japanese jiu-jitsu. What's Japanese jiu-jitsu from? The battlefield, and also samurai bare hand fighting, and also the fight stance. And
you
also
lost your sword. You had to be able to throw your opponent and get your sword back.
Right, right. And also in China, we have like the Da Cheng Quan or the Da Cheng Fist. They say they used to have a long spear. Yeah. So you don't have the spear. Like people try to grab your spear. How do you off balance your opponents and then push them away? That's where push hands comes in play. So it's all about like arm trapping, push hands, and what else? So arm trapping. So that's the key. From here, we trap the arm and control them for a certain amount of time, and then off balance them and strike again. That's where MMA is missing, and because people go in, bang bang, combo, and back. There's no off balance. There's only either no balance, either the takedown.
But you can see it sometimes, and sometimes I've experienced it in fights. Like it wasn't just like boom in takedown. It was like there was those little in between moments.
Yes.
And so I think that I said this a long time ago that MMA is all about the gray areas. So if you were to assign everything like on a color wheel, so I'm very visual as a person, and that's why I always teach using geometry. So like I would teach a class, but I would need a chalkboard or a whiteboard, because everything is about geometry. When you look at an MMA fight, I think that they need to also have the overhead view more often. Right. So when you see decisive movements in the fight, when you view it from above the octagon, you start to understand. Seeing it from the side doesn't tell you that much. It tells you distances, but it doesn't tell you the relation as in terms of degrees, like where the alignment
Right.
is.
It's like a two energy field. They're two energy fields. They're all angles. The
Sure.
different power level of energy and different angles and timing. So that's
Yeah.
actually what Bruce Lee mentioned a long time ago. He said, well, he pictures technique. He pictures from above.
Everything that I view is from above. I didn't know that about Bruce Lee, but I feel good, a little bit more validated. I had to come up with it kind of on my own. I view everything on a 360-degree wheel. So like my body position is a 360-degree wheel. Your body position, 360-degree wheel. The entire octagon, 360 degrees. So now where we are, everything is a quadrant. Where my feet are, where my center of gravity is. My center of gravity is a 0, 0. So where are my feet? So I give myself, I view everything that I'm sitting on as a 360 degrees and an XY axis. So I'm moving forward, backwards, am I switching stances? Where are my feet? Where are my feet in relation to my opponent's feet? Where are my feet in relation to his center of gravity, et cetera, et cetera. So all those little moments, if you view everything, again, visually, another way to describe these things is to put it on a color wheel. So as far as the arts go,
right,
is that you assign everything a sliver of color. And then you start to blend in between those colors. That's where the fight is. So you're like, okay, this is boxing, this is Muay Thai, this is whatever. And how much of the fight was this? How much of the fight was that? I'm like, how much of the fight was all that gray or that, like, it wasn't red or blue. It was, it was purple, right? That purple area, that's MMA. The red and the green, you know what I mean? That's area
styles.
over there.
That's different styles. Right? How they're gonna mix in.
Right. Exactly. So now all those areas that are, what are you going to use in those areas? And I watch guys distinctly leave an area that I can't wait to be in. And people run away from those areas. When I was fighting, they didn't want to be in that area. Everybody was either boxing and striking, which was not my forte necessarily. Like I could kick, but I wasn't a boxer.
Right.
And to be at that distance, as opposed to kind of in this muddy distance, this middle distance. We're not quite grappling. You can't really grip me. There's nothing to grab onto like judo or jiu-jitsu. So now we have to work with levers and angles. And I love that. I love the Thai clinch.
Yep.
But with MMA gloves. This is absolutely the thing for me. And it's not simply just a plum. It's being able to look at the angle of our shoulders, again, from above. Right. So everything is angle of feet, angle of shoulders, body posture, and how to work levers and create the fewest options for him and the most options for you. And it's kind of like jujitsu, but standing up. And so guys that are really good at arm locks and baiting people into positions where they can get their arm locked on the ground will understand how to do this against the cage. Or standing in the center of the ring, even if you get into an arm trapping war with somebody who understands that, you end up quickly being in a position where you could get kneed with that Thai knee, or you get clipped with that Thai elbow. But that Thai elbow doesn't come out of nowhere, right? You see when like real Thai masters, when they dump somebody, right? You have that quick lock up in the middle of the ring, and then they suddenly sweep the foot and they dump the guy.
Yep.
But they didn't. First, they didn't just sweep the foot; they lifted him slightly, and they stepped back or step forward. There was always 2 or 3 subtle things that
in
happened.
Tai Chi. You know what they call it in Tai Chi, and also Yi Quan. They called off the root, like root off.
Yeah. You got to pull them up
off. Yeah, root off.
You gotta, we in English we say uproot, right? So you got to
uproot. Yeah, uproot.
Yeah, uproot, like when you're pulling a weed out, right? So you just give it a little pop, and then you can pull it over. You can bend it. If you're trying to bend that young tree without giving it just a little pop, you don't have to take the roots right out. You just got to up a little and bend it. And this is exactly that's fantastic that you said that.
Yeah, uproot. It's in actually Yi Quan, and also especially in Yi Quan, there's some fist. But actually, they say it's a fist, but actually it's not a fist. It's like a technique. you go from the fight stance, you go make a contact with your forearm with your opponent's forearm, and then you adjust your body and you launch. You don't you
Yeah,
It's like contact. Your goal is to off balance and then follow up.
yeah,
And also, the Rob, you mentioned about the Thai masters. You try to go clinch. You try to, like, adjust a little bit. He make you right. It's like a
yeah.
falling. It's like a, how do you say? Sometimes we have the dream, but we it's like a falling. Someone take that table under your feet. So in Tai Chi they call it too. They call it like bring in, bring in,
Mm,
and take the table. It's like make you. So I don't know
yeah.
how to put
I,
that in English language. So
I think to bring it back around to the original question, though, because we kind of varied a little bit off the topic, um, to 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 get people to a point where they have this understanding of the stuff that you and I are talking about right now, it's going to be hard to explain to kids. But I think that you can explain a lot of these principles using the things that are in school already. So the geometry, for instance, mathematics, for instance, um, physics. There's a lot of things that we can use uh, that they would find scholastically beneficial, and then we just use what they're already being taught and kind of work it into the way that we teach the sport. Because at the highest levels of every sport, maybe except for fighting sports at the moment, but I suspect that a couple of the teams must be at least playing with it,
right,
is that you're able to use, nowadays especially, you can use machine learning. So NBA teams now are contracting out computer people and like tech people. They're able to, you assign to the computer, you tell the computer this is a knee, this is an ankle, this is a foot, this is a
right,
hip, and so the computer has the person's exact template and size, and then the person does all their movements. You shoot the ball at the hoop, you shoot a 3-pointer, you shoot a foul shot, and they check. The computer will look at the video and be calculating how much you varied your style, your stance, whatever. What arc did the ball have most times that it went in? And then it'll tell you, Chow Boy, guess what? You're going to shoot this ball in a lower, longer arc. Rob, you're going to shoot higher arc because most of the ones you shot from a high arc went in. Most of the ones you shot at a low arc went in. Whatever, it's just the way your brain works or your coordination. They're gonna adjust you. You know what I mean? And they're looking at your efficiency. Okay, well, you know what? You're actually more efficient when you're here and you push. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. And the
right,
computer will be crossing all these things with time, so they can test how. It's not about how hard you punch the bag. Like, it's not just the sensor in the bag, like bang, like you see Fight Lab, right?
right,
That's for TV. That's not actually telling you that much. Whereas if you started to look at a fighter and all his tendencies over his entire career, and then you plot them in a line, a chronological order, right? And you take that data and you lay it in chronological order, you could probably predict where he may be in his next 2 or 3 fights.
right.
And
So
I think
what
that
we
this
try
is
to, yeah. Well, actually, it's
scouting
not
and betting.
right.
So
We're not
if we
actually
can,
off the topic. We're actually, so this episode is about the truth, right? The
yeah,
finger to the moon, right? What we try
right,
to do is like, it's okay your kids don't understand, but the way you approach MMA to kids, it's actually, and also to
yeah,
everybody who is new to MMA, is to see MMA with the open heart, right? Instead of like a closed loop. See, I just wrote this open heart. So this one is actually, it's a very ancient Chinese word. It's a heart. So, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's like a pumping heart. I know it looks something like something else, but
it kind of looks like a heart. Yeah,
yeah,
it looks like an actual heart, like out of your chest.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Hey, you know how we write like a water in the beginning, Like
I don't know. Say,
water.
like 3 waves.
Yeah, you're right. So here's
Yeah,
water,
I wasn't
water,
trying to.
water. So
Yeah,
anyway, so and you see water. And in the beginning, I would say, sorry, it's become this calligraphy podcast, but okay, that's how something will bring us together. So if we say, okay, this is water, you'll be saying, oh, that's Chinese. How about I say it's water?
that's
It's
water. Everybody
drying.
knows
So
water.
that's just what it's from.
Yeah,
So it's just
totally.
it gets formed in this. So, but anyway, we're just saying a finger to the moon. So in this cover photo, I might use the Bruce Lee's finger to the moon that screenshot. I don't know if I will get sued by that, but
It's all good. I
it's
don't
all
think
good.
anybody's bugging us.
So I'll use my finger then. So all right. So we're trying to upload one day one episode. That's our goal. But in the long run, we try to reach the goal. It's a week, about 5 episodes. So don't get surprised that if you guys don't see, we don't post for like 1 or 2 days, which means there's going to be more coming up, more impact, and also we might put more. There maybe potentially will be some individual ones for channel. Just
Yeah,
yeah, maybe it's not available to get us linked together. Sometimes if anything huge happens, like a big fights coming up and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
see you guys. We'll be back really soon.